Welcome, everybody, to the Living Your Career show. My name is Roisin Duffy. I'm a director at Blue Sky Careers. Our theme today is confidence all that is cracked up to be when you're trying to make a success of your career? Research would suggest that confidence is a good predictor of success. Yet people like Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, all shy, all introverted, and look at the success stories they are today. So what is confidence? How essential is it? And how do we make whatever confidence we have work for us? And today we find out from a very special person. Her name is Kylie-Ann Kobelt. Welcome to the show first, Kylie. Thank you for joining us today.
And thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
So Kylie is a small town farmer's daughter. And I remember looking at Kylie's bio. I think the town, Kylie, if I'm not mistaken, was 75 people.
That's correct. A little town called Dark Peak in the centre of South Australia.
So Kylie decided at the ripe old age of 21 or 22 that she was going to head for the big smog. So off to Melbourne she went. And she became what we would call a beauty entrepreneur. So she has bought a number and sold a number of businesses over the last 20 years, beauty businesses. She is known as the solutions creator, or she's the confidence giver. She celebrates and she nurtures individuality, ambition, and aspiration. Kylie is NLP master practitioner, and she would credit that with transforming her life. And we'll talk a little bit about that. She is a business trainer, a business and individual trainer and coach. Her job, as she sees it, is to figure out what those underlying issues are, to bring awareness to the underlying issues, to look at what is causing any performance blockers that you might have, to declutter ambiguity, and to reset floundering confidence. So on that note, Kylie, thank you very much. I'm really excited to hear what you're going to have to say today about confidence. So I guess everyone wants confidence. You know, we call it gumption, we can call it conviction, we can call it poise, panache. But really, what does confidence mean in a career sense to somebody who's out there looking for a job right now or looking to build their career?
So confidence, I always believe, is in the doing. So when we're feeling confident about something, we're feeling elevated and capable to move forward. In a career, when we haven't done something before, then obviously we're going to have that doubt. So if we've got that doubt, then we might either avoid or go into reverse, or otherwise go and find what it is that we need to know so that we can then move forward, especially if we're changing our career path. What is it that we don't know that we don't know? Some people are really great at actioning that and going and finding out, but then others aren't so much. They'll sit back.
I was sort of thinking, some people I'd interview in particular, if they're reserved, gosh, I've interviewed so many people over the years, and, I'm not always so impressed with the people who talk a lot. I'm probably impressed with the people who say what they have to say very intelligently and in a structured and evidenced way, but in a very natural way. If people are reserved, if they have that perhaps lack of confidence before they go to interview, or when they're in that interview, what else might they emphasize, or what other tools might they use that could perhaps draw their attention away from the fact I'm underconfident, but I really know my stuff?
I think it always goes back to preparation. If we don't believe that we're actually good at something, or we don't think that we're going to be successful at something, then we are focusing on not being, rather than going for finding out what we need to know about that interview. So, looking up their website, finding out more information about that person. And yes, if you are a little bit more quieter, one of the key tips I always recommend is to ask more questions. Show that you're interested, rather than being interesting, based on what you just said then as well. A lot of people can talk and show their confidence through their talking, but are they actually really listening, and are they showing that they're interested? And I think that's the difference.
I guess you were saying a while ago, well, actually, this was during the week, we were talking about the importance of awareness. And you said, to be confident is to be aware. Can you explain to me, perhaps, the relevance or the importance of being aware linked to confidence?
Okay, so with awareness, we kind of throw that word around quite a lot. You've got to be present, you've got to be aware. And everyone goes, yeah, yeah, sure, I'm present, I'm here now. But really, are you being present? So, what I'm going to do is ask you to, and I'll ask the watchers and the listeners as well, to feel the seat that you're sitting on now. Now, you can feel the seat, or if you're standing, feel the ground that you're standing on. Okay, but only just 3 minutes before, you didn't even notice it. So, pulling into your awareness is actually sitting in this seat now and feeling the buttocks on the seat as well as communicating to somebody else. That brings in the true awareness of what your surroundings are. Otherwise, you aren't really present at all. You're just in the moment. And this allows you to pinpoint down into managing your emotions, managing your fear. There's also the learning state where you can open up your peripheral vision. And by having a little pinpoint of where you stare through, you can actually create an ambience of space where you can actually feel more confident. Many trainers do this when they're presenting in front of hundreds of people. They get into a learning state. So there's a few other things that you can do to bring confidence to your interview, to your meeting, in the discussion.
So I guess,
Did you notice that when I said it?
well, I was just sort of thinking, we always talk about, for people, everybody, I think there's some people love interviews, most people hate them. And you're in this sort of awkward situation, often with a panel of people, 3 or 4 people looking at you. And it's that sort of uncomfortable, you can come in now, Roisin. And, there's that, I've never been in this office before. I've never really spent any time with these people before. Perhaps I have. There's that kind of foreboding feeling of, I feel like I'm walking to a death sentence here, It occurred to me that what you just did would be a great composure technique for people, whatever about confidence, in terms of bringing them into a state of their own reality, into a state of their own comfort, before then they're projecting what they're trying to project.
And the other thing too is that when you're concentrating on that, whether it be the seat that you're sitting in or a pinpoint spot in a room, it actually, while you're concentrating on that, your mind's thinking of that, it actually dissipates any of the emotion. So the fear, it gets dissipated, and it allows you to catch your breath in that as well. So when you're practicing that, you actually can't be very emotional, because it's kind of like your brain can't do two things. If you're wanting me to focus here, but I've got all this anticipation and overwhelm coming in, you're actually saying no to that and giving yourself a free run of being able to present a lot better. I mean, I'm nervous all the time when it comes to talking and presenting. And I have to too remember, hey, right now I'm sitting on this seat, and it allows me to slow down. It allows me to think, it allows me to breathe, and it allows me to give the message to the people clearly, rather than getting caught up in the overwhelm. And the overwhelm itself has a real fast energy. So that overwhelm pulls you into more overwhelm. So it's about being able to take that step back when you go into an interview and push out all the loud noises that are inside your head. And that's probably one of the biggest tips I can think of. There was a saying I recalled too while I was having a talk to you the other week. Confidence is like running water in a house. You may not understand every detail about it, but when the water doesn't run through the pipes into the glass, you know it's not there. You can see, my God, the water's not coming through. And I think the curiosity has to be with confidence, the curiosity has to be with, well, when the water's not there, I have to go and find out why it's not there. What am I looking for to change? Like, what do I need to fix? Did the tap stop working? Have I not paid my bill for the water to come in? So when we don't have the confidence, and we know we don't have the confidence in a specific thing, I think it's really about going and getting curious about the reasons why I don't have confidence, and connecting with someone that can give you the answers and give you the way to fix your tap or pay your bill. I think that's a really good metaphor to be able to understand that it's something that works, and then it's something that doesn't work. And when it doesn't work, to investigate what that looks like and then make those changes according to what you might feel you need, that enables you to get into that interview room feeling more confident. We've got plenty of time to prepare for that. And in that makes some amazing changes as well.
I think also we talk about confidence. We have some people are overconfident, some people are underconfident. But there is more than confidence to an interview. There is more to confidence than being good at your job and being recognized for what you do. We often hear of the quiet achievers. We often hear of, people that go, I say quiet achievers, but people that are strong in different aspects. Some people are really, really good with technology. Some people are really good with detail and process. You don't have to be the person in the meeting that leads the meeting. You don't have to be the person that stands up and gives the presentation. You don't have to feel that kind of pressure. You can prove yourself in other ways. When you are talking to people who perhaps have mislaid their confidence, for want of a better word, how do you get them to look at other aspects of their existence and other aspects of their suite of skills and talents that make them realize confidence is just one element of that? And what else could they project to demonstrate competence?
So confidence is in the doing. So when we can't drive our car, or when we first get our driver's license, we can't drive the car. We don't know how to. So when we learn and when we find out how to drive the car, and then we practice ongoingly, in a car, we pass the test and we drive our car, and then we get better at driving our car. Then all of a sudden we're not doing it consciously, we're doing it unconsciously. So it becomes like nearly an automated way of putting that as, I already know how to do that. So it's considered done. So when I'm working with clients and when I'm talking even with friends, it's really about believing that you've already done it. So you already have done it. And I always tell the story about Federer, the tennis player, and how he was asked in an interview when he was going to play Nadal, when you get up on the court, how are you going to beat Nadal? And he goes, I've already won. Now, in that moment, even I had the penny drop and go, in that moment, he had already won. So when he gets up onto that court, he's already playing a different game than if he was trying to work out how he was going to win the game. So if we just go back a little bit, when I'm talking to a client, I'm saying, well, what does that look like if you were able to? So then they can start feeling the mood shift or the state shift. And if they shift that state and that composes with mastering your body language as well, it actually enables you to then shift into a position of mood, of state, of I've already done this. Another question is, where in your life before have you already done this? So we can often highlight where you've actually succeeded in so many things before. So let's have a look at how you went around doing that, because I know I'll do it differently to you and to the listeners. So then what you've got is a strategy on how you do confidence or how you do success. And you can then pretty much, as I say, template that. and put it into, well, this is the how-to for me to be successful. So it's kind of like your own little stamp of how you get things done for you. Does that make
I
make
think what you're saying is visioning, preparation, practice, drawing on experiences, even if they're not the same experience. Well, if I can do that, I can do this. So you've got to find within yourself, if you've got lost confidence or floundering confidence, you've got to go back to the stuff that you're good at and the things that you've achieved, you're saying, and really use those to fuel your fire.
a lot of people need convincers. The thing is, if you go back and see where you've already done it, that's the biggest convincer that you can actually lean in on. Some people look for external convincers. Some people focus in way too much on how they're feeling, like I feel heavy chested, or I feel like I can't talk, I'm all choked up around my throat. And that would come from your self-esteem. So the belief in your overall worth, or what you think you're capable of, and what you're telling yourself inside your head. So if you can go back and shift your state by recalling on a time that you've done it really, really well, then it's really about matching, mirroring out those same processes, as you said, to an achievable outcome. And then just press repeat.
It's interesting. You've obviously worked with a lot of individuals because you're the solutions creator. You know, they've got businesses and their businesses may be floundering because their confidence isn't all that it could be. Or perhaps, you know, individuals who, I know you probably do a lot of work in mental health, you do a lot of work in all sorts of different situations. But for obviously the purpose of what we're doing today, it's really about job seekers. It's really about building careers. It's about being true to yourself in terms of the things that you want and need from your career. But do you believe leaders are born confident? Or do you believe, you know, these are traits that are developed? And you know, a lot of people say, oh, you know, naturally extroverted, it's probably always that way, great at communicating, a real natural. I mean, do you believe people are born with those skills from the leaders and the individuals that you talk to?
I believe that they're born into families that have already been exposed to that sort of brilliance or that excellence or that achievement. I believe that we are a certain percentage of what our home life was like when we were being brought up. We might have had a mother that was reserved and a father that was quite extrovert, so we pull differently from each parent. We might have had a really amazing mentor, a sports mentor, or a uni mentor that we were able to draw from. As a child, we watch everything around us and we draw from all of those things, and it's those that constitute who we are as we're growing up. But then we have life's changes. We have parents that are, as my son says, they're tiger parents, where they're on them all the time to play the piano, and they're not even allowed to make one little incy mistake. But then there's parents on the other side that embrace their child from falling over and say, well, what did you learn this time? Well, I shouldn't run so fast, otherwise I won't fall over. So we are sculptured to a degree on what it is that we're able to do through our influences as growing up as children. But then something happens and we become more conscious and more aware of that. If we make a mistake, it will have different loads of confidence. So to go back to your question, I would say overall, I don't believe that anyone's physically born to be super confident. I think there's types of confidence. There's confidence where a person may be very focused and driven by results. So they've got a type of confidence. There's the person that's extremely influential and optimistic, and they light up a room like a sunflower, and their confidence sits inside that brilliance. I believe that people that are more quieter, more reserved, They love to build their confidence with their tribe and having the right people around them. And then there's the conscientious, confident person that is really confident once they know the process or the how-to. And then there's so many in-between people that adapt accordingly based on the situation, or the surrounding or the environment they're in, what levels of pressure there are. So I think your level of confidence or your capability of being confident can also be very adaptable by your natural state, versus that if you go into a networking environment, you adapt and your confidence will adapt accordingly to who's in the room. So yeah, I think that it can be developed. I believe it can be grown, certainly teachable. But again, the confidence is all in the doing, and finding out, well, what is it that you're not doing that if you did do it would have you be more successful in your career and in your interview processes, and going back to that curiosity of finding out what that is. I remember working with an amazing woman. She had a double degree. She passed with honours, yet she was stuck working in a retail clothes store. And she came to me going, I just want to do this, but I just don't know how to get there. And the journey is very much about going from A to Z, but you've got to be really clear on what Z is. So we got really clear on what it was she wanted to do, how much money did she want to make, how many hours did she want to work, what would that do for her if she had it, building up the why even more so that she could get herself into the position to take those next steps to go for that job that she wanted to go for and follow that career. Of course, there's increments. There's people that we might know that you need to talk to. The best people to talk to are the ones that have already done it. So who do you know that's already done it? And learning and asking as many questions as you can to find out, well, what is my next step? How can we go there? What conversations are you having in your mind that are stopping you? Could you be asking yourself better questions? Could you have a cheerleader cheering you on inside your mind rather than someone that's ready to just, tug at the back of your pants and pull you back and put you back into your seat? So everything is possible, and she did it. We connected to the right people. We put out a pathway for her. She was committed to do the tasks that she needed to do to get what she really, really wanted. So that the biggest question was what is it that you're not doing that if you did do it now would make a massive difference? And that could be getting yourself a mentor, a tutor, whatever it is that you need, somebody that's already done it. Then that takes the risk. It can take an element of the fear away so that you can charge up straight away and go for that job that you want. Because I'm pretty sure it's there just waiting for you.
It's interesting. I was curious, do you see an apparent gap between perhaps male and female professionals? And I'm talking, when I say apparent gap, an apparent confidence gap. Is there more females that are underconfident, more males? Does it really matter? Is it just life circumstances?
I would have to go with my experience of that men and women do confidence differently. We are still in that age, I think, or dregs of generation where, men still have to have a front. But I can also tell you there's plenty of women that have to have a front. And I believe it goes back to the types of people that I was discussing before. Whether you're a man or a woman, if you're results orientated, then there's less likely that there's going to be a lower level of confidence because you're results driven. So you're always pushing forward to get the outcome you're looking for. However, in saying that, for me, I work predominantly with women. Men don't seem to call out for me as often. However, when I get in front of them in a conversation, I think they're more likely to open up in a face-to-face communication than they are to go through all your marketing back ends and, all the bells and whistles that we need to do these days to attract clients. But it really just depends on where the person is in their life as well. And then what sort of confidence are we talking about? Are we talking personal confidence, body image confidence, communication? Do I have a second language? Is English my second language? So when we talk about confidence, there's so many derivatives of what confidence is. Confidence itself is a strong belief, either positive or negative. And then we go into self-confidence, self-esteem, self-efficacy, like belief that we have the ability to accomplish something. I might not be very good at something else, but I know damn straight that I can do this. So we've got a huge amount of confidence over in this wing, but not much over there. But that one over there might not be needed because I don't go up in a plane very often, so I don't need the confidence to go in a plane. So we don't exercise that. Therefore, confidence is in the doing, and if we don't do it, well, then we're not building up that arena or that area of confidence.
I was going to talk to you a couple of things. Fake it till you make it. I hear this so often. Fake it till you make it. And I sort of think, well, you know what? If it gets you moving, if it means you're stepping forward, if it means that you're pushing yourself outside your comfort zone, I really don't have much of an issue with that, except that I think I like real. I like sincere. I like relatable. I mean, I can relate to all sorts. But I'm interested to understand your thoughts on, you must meet people who I know that this isn't the true me, but this is how I want to project myself. What are your thoughts on the fake it till you make it piece?
I am right with you. I am all about the authenticity and transparency of what is it that we're good at, what is it that we're not good at, and let's be open and honest about it, because if we're not good at something, we can go and get it. Rather than faking it, I remember the first time I actually heard this many years ago. I didn't understand what they meant, because fake to me was like fake flowers. And I thought, why would, because I was young, and I'm thinking,
that's the country girl coming through.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thinking, why the hell would I want to just be fake? Like, that to me had a real visual impact. And it actually made me feel quite sticky. But it made me question, why would they say that? The thing is that when we're focusing, and we've all heard it, when we're focusing on something that we don't want, we get more of it. So if you're focusing on being fake, then you're going to get very good at fake. That when you kind of come down into the reality, there's a big element of not being happy with yourself. And the conversations that I've had that are very based around this with my clients is that they end up actually not knowing what it is that they like and what it is that they actually really want to do. So there can be a disconnect, for a better word. If you're having to fake it and you're having to put in that much energy and that much effort to fake it, then please, how about going and finding the right avenues to be able to fill up your bucket or fill your cup up with activities and tasks and energy that are actually going to get you to where you actually truly want to go, based on understanding your strengths and your weaknesses. And I mean, I really don't even like saying weaknesses. I'd prefer to say areas that are underdeveloped, or areas in which I don't have the resources for yet, and then going and get those resources, because that's what it is. It's a resource, and you can either draw in from it or you can pull back from it. But I know pulling back from it, you have to work twice as harder to get back into that position to go forward. So that's my view on faking it until you make it. It has to be qualified as being out of date. Surely, can we do that?
I'm more than happy with that. It's interesting. I always talk about people's strengths when I'm interviewing them or talking to them or building them up. I rarely ever talk to people about their weaknesses. I sort of feel, we all know what we're not great at. And I would far prefer to throw your confidence, your ambition, your aspiration, everything that makes you who you are, throw it at the stuff you're good at. This idea of, what are you bad at? What are your weaknesses and how do you plug that? It doesn't even come into my Discord. I'm also interested, just one final, well, actually, I've got a couple, but I'm also interested. One of the things that people nearly always do is go off to Toastmasters. I have very poor confidence. So therefore, people say that I need to develop this confidence and I must go off to Toastmasters, even though they're rattling in their boots with sweaty palms trying to do this thing. Do you have a view of a proper step, a sensible step that somebody could take, a first step that could help them to get their confidence or restore their confidence if it's floundering? I mean, is Toastmasters it?
I wouldn't be putting myself right out there that fast and that quick. I believe that it is really a good idea to take smaller steps. The other thing is, and I can draw back on some of my experiences, and one of my biggest experiences was, if I want to do it, I just go and do it. I didn't realize just how much lack of confidence I had getting in front of a video and talking to people. I mean, I do even struggle doing podcasts in this environment as well, purely because that there's something underlining that stops me from feeling confident. But the best way to do it is confidence is in the doing, but doing it in bite sizes. So practicing little things like going to a birthday party and getting up and saying a speech of just saying happy birthday and thank you for so much for having me, like little bite sizes of pieces of putting yourself out there and stepping out of your comfort zone. With the video, I just went in there full-fledged and got in front of this huge, massive camera, and I had to remember all my words, and I was like a possum in a spotlight. What I did learn quite a few years later was just getting your phone in your little, what is it, the thing it sits in, get it in there and just sit in there and have a teleprompter, practicing speaking in front of it. So you can also do that as well as making out someone that you know that you really, really have great rapport with and that you really appreciate. You know that they're a big supporter. Make out that person is in the room. Make out that person is behind the camera or in the podcast room with you. And that itself, if you're focusing, going back to something I mentioned earlier before, if you're focusing in on that person, it helps to settle down the rest of those nerves as well. But bite sizes, Toastmaster can set you up from never not wanting to do it before to do it again. But yeah, come into it bite sizes. I do believe that there is classes that you can do that give you the stepping stones in. But if you don't have the confidence and you've got internal dialogue and limiting beliefs and limiting emotions, then they're in an unconscious state. Sometimes we can only make the best of those in a conscious state by practicing and by doing. Alternatively, I work with my clients with NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming. So we actually work with that unconscious realm to make the changes at an unconscious level. So we can identify, release, and then come up with some new strategies of being able to do it differently. So you can always work with somebody that have those qualifications as well, which is kind of a little bit of a segue, but it is available to people to build up their confidence.
We need to wrap up. We've the things that kind of strike me about my conversation with you today, Kylie-Ann, is that you actually make me think about things that I take for granted. That I am probably confident. I wasn't always confident. That whole idea of preparation. I think that applies to anything. I think preparation equals results. I think the awareness that you're talking about, look inside yourself and understand why. Role modeling, as you said yourself, if it's not something you're comfortable with, and also practice the doing to build the confidence. And I think, there is just so much for what you've shared with us today. And also, you've shared it in a structured way with a natural flow that when you actually think about it, it makes sense. And I'm going to say this to anybody tuning in at home or at work. Confidence, I would look confident to a lot of people, but I rattle inside just the same as anybody else. And I'm going to do my preparation just the same as anybody else. Because if I'm comfortable with my material, I'm clearly going to look a lot more confident in the way that I'm presented. And if you listen to Kylie-Ann today, she was nervous coming on this podcast. And, I said to her, you're an expert in your area. You need to share that knowledge with people. And I'm very grateful that you did, Kylie-Ann. So thank you very much for coming on the show.
And thank you very much for having me. And confidence is in the doing, isn't it? So here I am. And it is always gets easier.
And that's a very good point. So take those first steps, perhaps take yourself marginally and in incremental steps outside your comfort zone and start building your confidence. The Living Your Career show airs every Tuesday and Thursday, Brisbane time. I'm going to bid farewell from Kylie-Ann. And from myself, thank you. And until we catch up again next week, keep living your career as only you can. Good day, everybody.